So you'll notice that my new layout here that I've been tending to use a little bit more often is very empty. This is something that I've taken more and more preference to. I don't usually show this layout very often when I am streaming or when I am doing teaching of any kind, because it is not the default layout and it makes it harder to like show someone, oh, just go here, this is the default spot. But this is, I would say, a more typical work layout that I use when I'm actually working. Now I say more typical because the actual typical layout that I would use is having the graph editor open on another window and my shot camera open on another monitor, so that I basically have this on one screen. So that is like the entire viewport dedicated to just my shot camera, and then I'd have one for my perspective camera, and I could really focus in on here. And Danish and Daniel, hello, how's it going? And JD, hello. So I would have these big windows open all over. The graph editor would be full screen, like the graph editor, not just a little docked window here. It would be this. And let's actually select some curves so we can see. So you'd have this in one viewport, and makes it very easy to start seeing what is happening in the controls. Let's actually select a control that has some animation on it. There you go. So you can see how that makes it very easy to see the changes that are happening. So I figured we've been using the other layout for quite a while. I might as well just kind of use a little bit more of my normal layout. Let's see, we spent the last 30 minutes trying to figure out why my changes to a glass window tint hasn't changing. I just noticed I had the wrong material assigned to the windows. Oh, I've done that many times. It's like, the material should work. Transparency, no, oh, come on, why is it not working? And then finally you realize, wait, there's another material here. Blend 002. Wait, adjust that. Now it makes sense. Yes, I've done that many times. Just kind of on the layout here, the main thing with this layout is that it has everything that I need in terms of animation. And this is what I love about this layout, is normally Maya's layout is very heavy. You have windows all over the place, menus all over the place. It's very, very dense. But honestly, as animators, when was the last time you went into half of the menus? Not even a fraction of those menus, really. You have like the file open, file recent, you have your visualize menu, editable motion trails, you have like what else do we typically go in? Constraints are a big one. Edit, parenting, things like that. Well, none of those have to be visible all the time for the amount that we tend to go into them, especially considering that by default in Maya, all you have to do is hover your mouse cursor over any viewport, hold down spacebar, and every menu is right here. So if I need a constraint, whoop, right there. There's my constraints. If I need to parent something, right there, there's my edit menu. I need to open up my visualize and create an editable motion trail, boop, right there. All of it is right here. I don't have to move my cursor up and down, up and down, up and down. I can do it anywhere on the screen. And once you get used to where things are, it's like, okay, edit, right there. Okay, do constraints, right there. You just memorize those paths, and your workflow gets much faster because of it. What else? Usually I don't normally need to see like the scripting menus and stuff, so I got rid of those at the bottom. The shelf, I honestly, my workflow, I don't use the shelf. I'll sometimes create custom hotkeys and stuff, but I really don't use it that often. So that saves a ton of space. It's basically everything I see here is everything I need. Now you'll notice that there's no file, edit, whatever menu at the top, or even in the viewports here. The way you get rid of those are the hotkeys Control M, that gets rid of the main top menu there. Shift M, that gets rid of the ones in the viewport. And then Control Shift M would get rid of this extra bar here in the viewport. Now, technically, I don't really need that bar either, but I find I tend to use these controls quite often. So for example, anti-aliasing, turning that on and off, ambient occlusion, if I need to just add some shadows and then turn it off just to improve playback quality, my resolution gate, things like that. I tend to use those quite often, as well as clicking here to select my cameras. I'll use that a lot, so I keep those open. But another thing you can do is you'll notice that there's these little lines in between the categories. If you click on those, you can actually collapse certain things. So I collapse the things I don't use. For example, the gamma. I never change the gamma on my shot, at least not unless I'm doing something rendering based. Here we have X-ray and all of these. These are great modeling tools, not so much for animation. Isolate Select right here. Honestly, I use it a lot for modeling. I'll sometimes use it for animation, but not too often. So I could close that. Here we have our anti-aliasing and ambient occlusion. That's the word I'm looking for. Honestly, if I turn both of these on and I know that I'm not getting any performance issues, I could close that off. And you have to do that per viewport here. And you can see how suddenly there's not that much. Even these, honestly, turn off the grid. Don't need that. I've got the resolution gate turned on here already, so I'm good here. I could collapse that if I wanted to. But I like to keep that open because I do turn the resolution gate on and off for play blasting purposes. So yeah, the other thing you can do is you can create a tiny pop-up window or shelf with the animation scripts and tools you use. Exactly. So that's the level up even more so, is you can create your own little pop-up windows with all the tools that you use. So now you don't even have to dig through menus. Now that is actually something I don't do, specifically because I like to show people where the menus are. And if everything's kind of in one spot, it's harder for them to know where to look for in their version. That's just a me thing because I tend to show people things a lot. So that would be like next step, because then you wouldn't even need any of this stuff. You could just hide it. But all of this just to say, as you're working in Maya, and Blender is similar, the Blender's interface is highly customizable. You do not need to just use the default. Once you get used to it, I highly recommend getting used to it first. Get used to the default of Maya before you start changing things. Once you're used to it and you know where things are, there's nothing stopping you from just messing around and making something that works for you. And in my case, this is not introducing any scripts. This is not introducing any extra tools or anything like that. Simply using the tools that Maya has built in. So, something to keep in mind there.